Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Criterion Connection. I'm Wade.
And I'm Joe.
And we're back. We're back. We haven't done a video since March. I haven't seen you since March.
Yeah, you haven't seen me since the whole lockdown thing happened.
In person, I haven't seen you. I've seen you on Skype when we do the Skype reviews, and we're doing video reviews because I'm tired of Skype reviews. The quality sucks, and I miss doing it in person. We're wearing masks right now because you work a job that, there's a higher chance of COVID and stuff like that, so we're taking precaution. We're also giving you the quality you deserve, and we're starting off the month of December. The last wave, Peter Weir, 1977. We did one previously. We reviewed Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is down here, down below, the link below. And this is the third Peter Weir movie I've ever seen. I saw Truman Show, which is fantastic. Picnic at Hanging Rock, I believe we didn't like that much.
Yeah, I think we were fairly lukewarm on it.
It's a weird movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a cop procedural mixed with the apocalypse, mixed with, it makes you. I got vibes of Prince of Darkness by John Carpenter,
which I've just recently seen as of a couple months ago.
Yeah,
and sure, I think you can draw that comparison pretty easily due to the apocalyptic
also
visions and the possible, like, the end is nigh kind of stuff going on.
Also, Serpent and the Rainbow.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but whole, the tribe idea.
But I think the other reason you relate it to Prince of Darkness is that it's not the easiest movie to follow.
Yes.
Because it does not show you all the cards.
Nope. It definitely does not do that at all.
I don't know if it's assuming a base level understanding or just is like, you know what? Just come along for the ride. It's not really all that stuff you need to know. But, I mean, for those, like, native Australians, like, they know a lot more of the background, especially with kind of the tensions between the Aboriginal peoples and the white Australians that came in later. But outside of that, like, there's not much, that we know being Americans, and we have our own kind of native peoples versus immigrants.
Yes.
That we understand, like that tension between Native Americans and then the later English settlers and European settlers. So it's similar, but obviously the Aboriginal peoples of Australia have very much their own culture and their own ideas, which is what the movie revolves around.
Yeah. This movie is also what I consider a WAP, a wet ass picture, because it's just raining everywhere. I figured you'd like that joke. That's the only note I wrote.
It's very timely.
Yeah. Maybe if you watch this video in like 2 years, you're probably like, what's that?
Ben Shapiro will always know.
Yeah.
The start of the movie is this crazy storm hits the desert.
It's insane. This scene's insane.
There's no clouds, and it just starts pouring rain, and then hail starts coming down. And then the rest of the movie is pretty much always raining. You follow a lawyer from Sydney.
Burton.
His last name's Burton.
I forget his first name. I was going to say Richard, but that's Richard Chamberlain. That's the guy who played him.
It might be Richard.
Oh my gosh.
Which is, I mean, it matches his name. So he's a lawyer in Sydney. He does corporate taxation. And all of a sudden, one night, and we see the scene where this one Aboriginal fellow, or at least darker skinned fellow, he's running away from a group of them that are just kind of following him. I wouldn't say necessarily full-on chase, because they let him get really far ahead of them.
Yeah.
And then they just find him later. But he ends up dying. And the other 4 or 5 Aboriginal guys they're being brought on manslaughter charges or murder charges. Somehow this corporate taxation lawyer gets dragged in to be their defense attorney. And what we find out that there's this mystical link between him and those guys, and him and the events that are happening at the same time. He starts suffering from these bad dreams that he used to have when he was a kid. And, you know, he's seeing like he sees the one Aboriginal guy before he even meets him.
Yeah, Chris Lee. He is so like
he's a great performance.
Yeah, he has such a presence about him. When he shows up, you're like, oh, we're meaning business right now.
We also realize later on that he used to have these bad dreams when he was a kid, and it turned out his dreams came true. So it went from being nightmares to premonitions. And that's kind of the whole thing this movie is about, is him uncovering that mystery. Like, how did that guy die? Once he kind of has his finger on that, why did the guy die?
Yeah.
And that becomes more important to him. And then
it opens a whole can of
who
worms.
am I and how am I connected with all of this?
Yeah. Am I connected to the end of the world?
Yeah, so a lot of the events that are happening are these crazy storms that we get these little... And I love how subtle they are. They just happen, and then you'll hear like a bit of the news on the radio or on the TV, where it's like, turns out that rain was actually petroleum. That's kind of weird. All right, too bad it didn't happen another time. We could be rich.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very kind of apocalyptic. Like, there's the downpour at his house where he starts seeing frogs everywhere.
But the one thing I will praise on it is, I think that there's such an atmosphere with this movie. Not just with the rain and the effects and the shots, but also I want to say the score by, I believe, Charles Wayne.
Yes.
That score is so good. And it makes you feel like, it feels ethereal, it feels atmospheric, it gets you this mood. That like movies like we mentioned Prince of Darkness, it has that vibe. Mm-hmm. Serpent in the Rainbow has that vibe. This movie has a vibe to it. It's a movie I've not seen a movie like this. You know, like with the score and the atmosphere and the ideas behind it. Like when he's in the last act, mm-hmm. when he's at the tribes, when he sees the shaman and stuff like that. Like that stuff is really shot well. The art direction's so good on this.
You mean the secrets are revealed?
Yes. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. Because the ending also has kind of an ambiguous ending where it's like...
Oh, I love the ending.
Is it a premonition or is he just kind of just seeing things?
Or is it happening?
Yeah, that's another thing. Is it premonition or is it actually happening?
You know, because we have a track record. What he sees comes true.
Yeah. So... There's a lot of craziness in this movie.
I really liked it. You know, it reminds me of movies like... There's one that came out later with Demi Moore, Seventh Sign, which is very apocalyptic. It revolves around a trial.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Nothing But Trouble. The Dan Aykroyd movie.
Jeez. Oh, man. Yeah, there's that one. There's things like Just Cause. Like, it's these procedurals where, you know, not everything is given to you as the audience, and you kind of unravel the mystery as it's going on. Wild Things was kind of like that.
Yeah.
And obviously, they all take different, you know, roads and different plot lines. Like, this one's dealing with the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Or end times, or the other theme that they bring up is cycles. That the end of one thing is the beginning of another, and I think that's one way to look at the ending as well. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to want a concrete ending. They're going to want to know and understand what's happening and what the implications are.
Yeah.
You know, why is it raining petroleum? Why did hail and these storms hit the desert out of nowhere? Like, all these things. Like, were those... where did those frogs come from?
Yeah.
You know, they're going to want, kind of more of a neatly wrapped, bow and a whole gift of a movie. But this one's, it's basically kind of keeping certain pieces away, I think, keeping that mystery.
It's also not the focus. The focus
Right.
is on Burton. The focus is on him, like, is this focus is on the case and the lawyer in general, his connection to the case. It's the rain and all that, it's just happenstance. It's just there.
There's a scene between Charlie and Burton, and the question, who are you? I think that's the theme.
Yeah.
We're talking about like this lawyer who's figuring out who he is and where he places in this situation, and ultimately where he places in the universe.
So, Joe, would you recommend The Last Wave by Peter Weir?
I would. I like it a lot. Yeah, I'm probably going to recommend it a little later today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's much more closer to Truman Show than it is Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Oh, yeah.
But it is somewhere in between them because you don't get all the answers like Picnic at Hanging Rock.
I will say Peter Weir has like a good way of having a tone.
Right. But it doesn't give you all the answers like Truman Show.
Yes.
But I think the quality is much more indicative of Truman Show.
I would also recommend it. This movie was a surprise to me. I'm not going to say I love the movie because I'm one of those people. It's just I felt like I think I need a second or third viewing on this to really kind of get a full-fledged thought on it. But that said, this was one of the surprises of the year for me for Criterion because, sometimes I walk into a movie and I kind of know it's probably not going to be for me. But like this movie, it's like I had no clue. I went in dark and I'm surprised. I like these atmospheric movies where I feel like, good example, like I love a movie like Mandy, where it has that atmosphere to it. I love movies like that. So this movie is perfect for that. The procedural stuff is something I kind of like. I was not expecting that. It was kind of jarring to me. But as it's been longer since I've watched it, it's starting to it's all kind of like settling down. The thoughts are settling down. The ideas are settling down. Now I'm like, okay, it's starting to make sense. It's starting to get more concrete. And so, yeah, I would definitely recommend it to the audience. This movie, it's in 1977, but it feels like a late 1980s movie.
It does.
Yeah.
The score feels that way. The fashion doesn't really even... It doesn't date it too much. You just know it's from a few decades ago.
It's almost like it's ahead of its time.
Yeah, the movie, it really, like, you wouldn't expect it, but you're going to think it's a much more modern movie than it is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's our thoughts on The Last Wave. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section below. Tell us all your thoughts. Is there a Peter Weir movie that's in the Criterion Collection? Or an Australian movie that's in the Criterion Connection? Like, I think Walkabout.
Yeah, there's one. Walkabout.
Yeah, which I found out Chris Lee, the guy who plays Chris Lee, is also in Walkabout.
I believe it's also a Peter Weir movie.
Oh, it is? Okay, well, maybe we should do that soon.
I think. I'm not 100% on that, so...
I'll put a little graphic down saying, he's wrong! So until then, I'm Wade.
And I'm Joe.
And we will see you later.